So when I was listening to this CD, a couple of times I've heard it so far, I just got this sense again about the rootsiness of your music, about where it seems to come from so far back. Even the newer songs, just have that feel. And Dirt Farmer had the same kind of feel, and it's kind of got the roots, that Americana feel to it, the country feel, and maybe you could talk a little bit about what that comes out of, the background, your hometown.
I think a lot of our sound has to do with the instrumentation.
Uh-huh.
We use mandolins
Right.
and acoustic guitars and dobros and fiddles and things.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our music has that acoustic quality. We use a stand-up bass.
Yeah.
95% of the time, 99% of the time.
Uh-huh.
And that gives us that acoustic sound. It doesn't have that kind of a roar, or that drone that an electric bass gives the music.
Uh-huh.
So I think that, and maybe just, I don't know, it might be age too,
Well, I'm sure that has something to do with
age.
it. Uh-huh. And background, I mean, you didn't come from the Bronx like I did.
Well, that is still what butters our bread, though.
Uh-huh.
That same sound, and for me, I'm sure it's the same for all of us. It's that quality sound. There's no electronics that give it a trickery. There's nothing except just a pure, God-given tone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's irresistible to me.
And even if we're using electric instruments, guitars or keyboards,
Right.
it's basically about keeping, not adulterating the sound. Just keeping
Right.
a pure plug it into the amp and play kind of sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in its own way is sort of an acoustic thing.
Uh-huh.
And see, I mean, Levon's thing, my interpretation of Levon's musical being is that it comes out of the woods, it comes out of the dirt, it comes out of the mountains, it comes out of it doesn't come out of brick and mortar, it doesn't come out of a Hollywood script, it doesn't come out of there's nothing manufactured about it. It's just sort of natural.
Mm-hmm.
And from the producing side of this thing, I really loved that, and I felt like it was my job to, as a producer, you got to take what a person is naturally, and let that really let that live, from my days of listening to him with the band, and at the time when the band was in their heyday, I was completely absorbed in acoustic American music at the time. I was from the Carter family and Jimmy Rogers up to the blues guys and all the country guys and the bluegrass thing and the old time music thing, and to hear these guys doing basically rock and roll, but with all that stuff present in there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a feast for the ears.
Yeah.
And when we did the Dirt Farmer record, Amy and I both agreed that this is let's find the root of Levon Helm.
Uh-huh.
The
Right.
And that one, we just kept it narrow on the acoustic side, just because that's as close to where he came from as we can get. And this one we're expanding.
Uh-huh.
That's basically
Right. Just make sure this is really. Yep. Seems to be going. And speaking of Amy, I mean, there is also something special about the family connection with two singers that are in, whether it's brothers like the Carter, the Stanley brothers, or the Everly brothers, or the Leuven brothers, or family bands and so forth. And there is a special thing that happens when you and Amy sing together.
Oh yeah.
And it's
one of the best things ever happen, you know, is that feeling you get
Yeah.
from playing with the younger kids, you know, especially your own. You
Yeah.
know?
Sure.
And I think that's a whole lot of it. And over the 5 years, you know, with Larry and Teresa and the sound that Amy and Teresa have been able to invent, you know, the sound of their two voices. They're the most different background singers you ever hear.
Mm-hmm.
And they really cover that whatever flavor we're in, they can just add that kind of a color and tone to it.
Yeah.
So and over the 5 years, I think we've all grown together. We've made a family. The band has kind of grown into itself, and everybody has got kind of their own band on the side, and when we all come together to form a unit, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, the whole thing feels family. It really feels, you know, Teresa came from Tennessee, and she says all the time about how this is just like going to sing with your aunts and your uncles and your grandparents and your mother and father and your sisters and your brothers. It's the same. It's that kind of, you know, where we're doing this for a living, but really we're doing it because we love getting together and making music together.
Right. Absolutely.
And with Amy and Levon, you know, there's Amy. You know, Levon said she basically grew up listening to him playing.
Sure.
And she completely absorbed all that stuff. Completely absorbed it, and has a really healthy respect for where he comes from music, and understands where he comes from music. And she, in her own musical personality, is sort of really fluent in the soul side of what Levon does. You know, the soul and the R&B side of what Levon does. Whereas Teresa, in her musical experience, is very really fluent in the country and folk and bluegrass side, and you put all these together.
That's what I hear when they sing together.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I hear that. I hear all the way from blues, gospel, right into bluegrass gospel.
Yeah. And that's
a great tone.
It's unbeatable.
It is. It is.